Like I said, fuck his dead baby, fuck his dead ass mama, that bitch ashes like on the tip of this blunt, or that bitch bag of bones. Which one? Nah. And I said it. And fuck that dead ass baby too. Nah. And whoever else feels some type of way. Ty, I don't give a fuck about that brother, that nigga brother, none of them. My brother in jail. I don't give a fuck about that nigga brother. What they gonna do? Nothing. I'm still gonna be outside, still in the hood. Nobody ain't gonna do nothing. I'm still gonna make my money and ride through this bitch. Hey mama, that bitch dead. Bitch ain't nothing but these ashes on my blunts. Go cry. Mother's Day just passed. Ain't that Death Day the sun coming up? Nah, y'all could. Next person tell me chill out, I'm trolling you. Flat out, or I'm pulling up and I'm gonna smack the out of you. Nah, and that's how I'm playing it. Or y'all can get beat on.
I need executive protection. Bros, you know, we're gonna have protection on him, man. He need protection. I'm paying for protection. Anybody that's got CPL, I need you to get to Raye mama house now and protect him, man. I'm paying top dollar, man. If you can get to his mama house on McKinney, I'll give you the protection, man. I pay for it. While you was in jail, I was around family them, so I already know. I already know it. Mama already told me when this shit go wrong, and you kill him, and you go to jail. I ain't. The devil is a lie. I'm gonna continue to ball.
Say this Hershey mama and my Uncle Blunt.
This Hershey mama,
Say my uncle was smoking on Hershey mama right now.
On the morning of May 20th, 2026, a young woman in Detroit made plans for the afternoon. She called her cousin. She was getting ready. She had somewhere to be. The cousin was on her way. 10 minutes, maybe 15. By the time she arrived, there was nothing left to do but grieve. You're watching Morbid True Crime, psychological true crime documentaries examining the behavior, evidence, and investigative process behind real criminal cases. Detroit has always had a complicated relationship with the internet. The city produced some of the most influential music in American history, and in the social media era, that tradition extended onto smartphones and live streams and Facebook pages, where artists built followings not through record labels, but through raw presence. You posted. People watched. You kept posting. Raye Johnson operated in that space. Known online as Oilbase Deadzoneraye DaGoat, he was 33 years old and part of Detroit's grassroots rap scene. A world where reputation is built block by block, post by post, and where feuds that start in comment sections can develop a weight and momentum that the original participants may not fully anticipate. His sister, Raye Johnson, who went by Rita, was 27. By every account that has emerged since her death, she occupied a different lane entirely. Where Raye moved through the online world with the particular confidence of someone who had cultivated a following, Rita was described by those who knew her as grounded, generous, present. Her cousin Tonya Brown, speaking to WXYZ-TV in Detroit in the days after the shooting, described her simply, she was like a sister. They were together every single day. You saw Rita's face, you saw Tonya's.
That girl was like my sister. We were together every day. Like, you see her face, you see mine. She was a good spirit. She'd help anybody. She'd get her clothes off her back.
That kind of closeness, the kind where you can finish each other's sentences, where you're already on the phone making plans for later that afternoon, is the kind of detail that matters in a case like this. Because it tells you something about the texture of the day that was lost. The day before the shooting, Raye and Rita had been talking about the following morning. The plan was a balloon release. A friend of theirs had died in a car crash nearly 4 years earlier, and the family was marking that anniversary. The kind of thing families do when they've already learned what grief looks like, when they've developed rituals around it. They never made it to that balloon release.
Hey, I'm outside, man. I gotta go let some balloons go for my baby or something, man. You know what I'm talking about? I'm riding to the west side, though. I'm telling you all that now. I'm through there. And I don't even like block parties or nothing. I'm just gonna slide through, just to slide through. Show my face. That's all I'm doing from here on out. Sliding through everywhere. What you talking about? See what I can see.
Before we get to May 20th, it's worth spending a moment on something that doesn't have a clean resolution: the online activity that preceded the shooting. Family members, including Tonya Brown, told WXYZ-TV that they believe the events of that day were connected to an ongoing public feud on social media. Brown was careful in how she described it. She said she wasn't entirely sure of the specifics. What she knew was that there was something happening online, some conflict, some back and forth, and that it had been building. She was equally clear about one thing: Rita had no part in it.
What was this about?
I'm not really for sure. I just know that it was some media stuff going on. And
Social media?
yeah, I hope this is a lesson to everybody in the world.
Would you say Rita was caught in the middle?
Yes, definitely was. She should have never even been here, just, wrong place at the wrong time.
Detroit police have not publicly confirmed the specific nature of any social media conflict or its direct connection to the shooting. Investigators are still working to establish a confirmed motive. What law enforcement has stated publicly is that the attack appeared to be targeted, not random, and that the gunfire was not the result of a chance encounter. That distinction matters. A targeted attack requires planning. It requires knowledge of where people will be and when. It suggests that whoever carried this out was not acting on impulse. There is additional context circulating in community discussions online. Claims about the nature of the feud, about prior warnings, about what allegedly drove the conflict. Some of that has circulated in videos and social media posts since the shooting. We are not going to present any of that here as established fact. What investigators have confirmed and what family have stated on record is the foundation. Everything else remains unverified. What we can say is this: in the hours and days leading up to May 20th, something had been developing in the background of Raye Johnson's life. And on a Wednesday afternoon in Detroit, that background became the foreground with devastating consequences. The shooting occurred after 2 p.m. Detroit police responded to McKinney Street on the city's east side following reports of gunfire. What they found when they arrived was a scene that immediately told them this was not incidental violence. 2 people were down. They were in separate vehicles, not together in war, but each in their own, parked outside a relative's home on the same street. That detail became one of the first things investigators documented, and one of the first things that shaped their understanding of what had happened. When a shooter targets people in separate vehicles on the same street, it speaks to a level of preparation and intent that distinguishes this from the kinds of gun violence that erupt out of a single confrontation. This person, or persons, though investigators have not confirmed the number of assailants, came to that street knowing who they were looking for. At least 12 rounds were fired. Police confirmed that number in their initial public statements. The victims were Raye Johnson, 33, and his sister Rita Johnson, 27. Both died from their injuries. And in the backseat of Rita's vehicle, investigators found something that stopped the entire scene cold. A 1-month-old baby boy, physically unharmed. Tonya Brown had been on her way to meet Rita. She was on the phone with her. 10 to 15 minutes, she said. They were getting ready together. There was a gathering planned, a ride out that afternoon. The kind of ordinary coordination between 2 people who barely need to explain plans to each other because they already know how the other one moves. Then her grandmother called. There were rumors of a shooting. Tonya didn't know what to think at first, and then she turned on the news, and she saw footage of Rita's car. That's how she found out. Not from a phone call from a detective. Not from someone sitting her down and explaining it carefully. She was on her way to meet her cousin, someone who was, by her own description, more like a sister, and she found out by recognizing a car on television. In the days that followed, Brown spoke publicly about what she believed had happened and about what she wanted people to understand. She was direct about Rita's position in all of this. Rita was caught in the middle of something she had no stake in. Wrong place, wrong time. Those words can sound almost dismissive when you say them out loud, but in this case, they carry real weight. By the account of the people closest to her, Rita Johnson was not involved in any conflict. She was present because Raye was her brother, and it was a Wednesday afternoon and they were making plans for the following morning. And then she wasn't. Brown also spoke about the baby, 1 month old, alive. She said it plainly, that child survived by grace. And now the family is left not only to grieve, but to raise him, to find a way to explain someday that his mother was a wonderful woman who deserved far more than what happened to her on McKinney Street.
By the grace of God, God protected him, and he's here, he's living. Now we have to raise this child and let him know that his mother was a wonderful woman.
Detroit police moved quickly to establish a perimeter and canvass the area. Their initial public assessment was unambiguous. This was a targeted shooting. The phrasing investigators use when they say that targeted carries specific meaning. It rules out the category of violence that happens when someone is simply in the wrong place at the wrong moment. It means that investigators believe the victims were chosen. The challenge in the hours and days that followed was identifying who made that choice and finding evidence that could answer that question in a way that would hold up. No suspect description was released in the immediate aftermath. That's significant and worth pausing on. In cases where a witness sees a perpetrator clearly, catches a face, a vehicle, a direction of flight, investigators can move quickly to a description, even if an arrest takes time. The absence of a public description in the early stages of this investigation suggested either that witnesses in the immediate area had limited lines of sight, or that the shooter was deliberate about their movements before and after the attack. Investigators believe the suspect was on foot. That means no vehicle to trace, no license plate to run. It means the person walked into that neighborhood, carried out the shooting, and left, apparently without being clearly identified by anyone who was in a position to provide a detailed description to police. What investigators did have was neighborhood surveillance footage. Detroit's East Side, like many parts of the city, has a network of private and commercial cameras mounted on homes and businesses throughout residential blocks. In the immediate aftermath of a shooting, detectives routinely work through that footage frame by frame, trying to establish who was in the area before the shots were fired, what direction they came from, and where they went afterward. That footage review was underway in the days following the shooting. Whether it produced actionable leads has not been publicly confirmed. As of the time of this documentary, no arrests have been made. No suspect has been named. The case remains open and active. There is something worth examining in the way this shooting unfolded. Not to sensationalize it, but because the operational details carry investigative significance that police would be looking at closely. Raye and Rita were in separate vehicles, outside a relative's house, in the middle of the afternoon. That means whoever came to McKinney Street that day knew the location. They had some knowledge, confirmed or approximate, of where Raye Johnson would be and when. That's not information that appears from nowhere. It either came from direct surveillance of his movements, from someone who knew his plans in advance, or from information that was communicated, deliberately or inadvertently, in some public-facing way. In cases where social media activity is believed to be a contributing factor, investigators typically review the digital record carefully. What was posted, when, what it might have revealed about location or timing. In a world where people document ordinary moments, where they're going, who they're with, what the afternoon looks like, that information becomes part of the investigative landscape.
I need executive protection. Bros, we're gonna have protection on him, man. He need protection. I'm paying for protection. Anybody that's got CPL, I need you to get to Raye mama house now and protect him, man. I'm paying top dollar, man. If you can get to his mama house on McKinney, I'll give you the protection, man. We go. I pay for it.
Hey, I'm outside, man. I gotta go let some balloons go for my baby or something, man. You know what I'm talking about? I'm riding to the west side, though. I'm telling you all that. Nah, I'm through there. And I don't even like block parties or nothing. I'm just gonna slide through, just to slide through. Show my face. That's all I'm doing from here on out. Sliding through everywhere. What you talking about? See what I can see.
Detroit police have not publicly confirmed what specific digital evidence they are examining, if any. But in a case where the family has openly described a social media conflict as a potential contributing factor, it's reasonable to understand why investigators would be looking closely at the online record surrounding both victims in the period leading up to May 20th. What they find there, and whether it produces anything actionable, has not been shared publicly. That's not unusual at this stage of an active homicide investigation. Investigators have reasons to hold information back. Premature disclosure can compromise witness cooperation, alert potential suspects, or undermine the integrity of an eventual prosecution. The absence of public information about the digital evidence doesn't mean there isn't any. It means the investigation is ongoing. Somewhere in the midst of all of this, the shooting, the investigation, the grief, there is a detail that has stayed with people who followed this case. The balloon release. It was planned for the day after the shooting, a ritual of remembrance for a friend who had died in a car crash nearly 4 years before. The kind of thing that doesn't make headlines, that doesn't get documented beyond the people who gather in a parking lot or a park and let balloons go into the sky and say a name out loud. Raye and Rita were supposed to be there. They were the ones who knew the friend. They were the ones keeping that calendar, making sure the anniversary didn't pass unmarked. Instead, balloons went up for them. That inversion, the people doing the remembering becoming the people being remembered, doesn't require any editorial commentary to land. It simply is, and it is devastating in the particular, quiet way that real grief is devastating, which has nothing to do with drama and everything to do with the specific, irreplaceable people who are no longer there. Detroit has been reckoning with gun violence for a long time. The city has made meaningful progress on violent crime rates over the past decade, and community organizations, law enforcement, and local activists have worked persistently to address the conditions that produce that violence. None of that progress makes individual tragedies smaller. It doesn't change what happened on McKinney Street. What it does provide is a framework for understanding why cases like this one carry weight beyond the immediate family. When two siblings are shot and killed in broad daylight in a targeted attack, in a neighborhood, in the middle of the afternoon, with a baby in the back seat of one of the vehicles, it sends a message through a community about safety, about what disputes can escalate into, and about the distance between an argument that happens online and the consequences that can find their way to a residential street. Tonya Brown, in her public statements, was direct about what she hoped people would take from this. She framed it as a lesson, not in the preachy, abstract way that word sometimes gets used after violence, but practically. She meant, look at what happened. Look at where this ended up. Look at what was in that back seat. That is not a small thing to say publicly when you are in the middle of grief this acute. She also said something else. She said justice will come. She said she hopes whoever is responsible thinks about what they did. That kind of statement, measured, resolved, forward-facing, carries a particular kind of weight when it comes from someone standing where she was standing. As of now, this case is still open. No arrests, no publicly named suspect, no official confirmation of motive. The questions that remain are not small ones. The most basic question, who did this and why, does not yet have a public answer. Investigators are working. Surveillance footage is being reviewed. Tips, if any have come in through Crime Stoppers, are being evaluated. What we know with confidence is the outline. Two siblings, a targeted attack, a Wednesday afternoon, a street on Detroit's east side, and a baby who survived. What we don't know, what investigators are still piecing together, is the chain of decisions and events that produced that afternoon. The family believes a social media conflict played a role. Detroit police have described the shooting as targeted. Beyond that, the picture has significant gaps. Those gaps matter, both for the investigation and for the people left behind. Tonya Brown, the surviving family members, the child who will grow up without his mother, they are all living inside those gaps right now. Waiting. Wanting answers that the investigation has not yet been able to provide. That uncertainty is its own kind of weight. Anyone who has ever been in the position of waiting for news in a case like this waiting to understand why something happened, waiting for the process to produce some kind of resolution, knows what that feels like. It does not feel like closure. It feels like a held breath. What investigators are reconstructing in this case is not simply a shooting. They are trying to understand the sequence, the decisions that were made, the movements that brought specific people to a specific street at a specific time, and the action that ended 2 lives and left a family changed permanently. That reconstruction takes time. It requires evidence, it requires cooperation, it requires patience from everyone involved, including the people who are grieving and who deserve answers most. Rita Johnson was 27 years old. She had a 1-month-old son. She was, by the account of the people who knew her best, the kind of person who gave what she had and showed up when she said she would. Raye Johnson was 33. He had built a public presence in the Detroit rap scene. A presence that, in whatever way investigators ultimately determine, became entangled with events that ended his life. Both of them were supposed to be somewhere else the following morning. The case is open. If you have information about the deaths of Raye and Rita Johnson, speak up. Tips can be submitted anonymously. What remains, for investigators, for the family, and for anyone following this case, is the work of understanding how ordinary moments become the last ones, and why, in too many cases, the answers take far longer than they should. Thank you for watching Morbid True Crime. Subscribe to Morbid True Crime for more psychological documentary investigations, examining the evidence, behavior, and investigative process behind real criminal cases. New documentaries released weekly.